Well, good morning. Tony Virtue speaking, Virtue and Partners with our regular monthly update and, in fact, year-end update. And what a year it's been. Words like unprecedented come to mind. I'll stay mainly on the economics today. But first of all, just a hello to all the clients overseas today. I'm speaking to a lot of you by Zoom and recognise that many of you like to be in Australia today, and it's not easy. Markets actually have done a little bit better than probably intuitively you would think would be the case. And as we look at the numbers to the end of June, including the dividends, as you can see in the attached material, the losses were 7.7% in Australia. And that was primarily in the banking sector. Yes, as you recall, the banks have basically provided a 6-month window for people to delay paying their mortgages, which affects people who don't have to then pay their rent. They wrote it all off as a potential bad debt, delayed dividends, etc., etc. So the long and the short of it is that if we can get Australia back to work, and for the most part that's happening. Obviously, we're troubled with Victoria at the moment. Then that $6 billion will then come back into the profitability and then be paid out for dividends at a later stage. Turning to the overseas markets, and again, probably counterintuitively, looking at what we're seeing in the US and the UK live at the moment, the US markets are actually up. And particularly those which are what they call the FANGs, the Facebooks, the Apples, the Amazons, the Googles, the Netflixes, anything that can be really automated, that is global, that has a low ongoing variable cost, that is something that people actually want, is looking okay. Where you've got very heavy labour cost type businesses, that's a very, very different set of circumstances. Domestically here, interest rates obviously now 0.25% is the RBA rate. Really no great intent, I think, to change that. They've been raising 10-year bonds at that kind of money. So expect money to be very, very cheap in Australia, and indeed on the mortgage side now we're doing fixed rates just above 2%. So a lot of the investments at the moment are actually cash flow positive. Whether you're buying an investment property, whether you've got a share portfolio, we're doing margin lending below 4% for the year coming up now. So in many cases, the actual income will cover your costs. You get some deductions on the interest. Key being, of course, that the assets go up in value over time. Now, what will drive that? Well, primarily confidence, and confidence comes from employment. Employment drives income. That looks scratchy at the moment, I think that's fair to say. The areas that I'm looking to see opening up again will be foreign university students. As you know, I teach at uni. Coming back in, we may have to quarantine them for a couple of weeks, but after that there's no reason why they can't study here. At the same time, net migration has driven Australia for many, many years, and we need to get that going again. And here in Manly we have a quarantine station, of course, where people literally were quarantined when they first emigrated here. So perfectly possible, if this is your new life, to commit to 2 or 3 weeks of quarantine to make sure that there's no problems there. And that's something I'm sure is top of mind for governments as well. So I think that will right itself over time. So at this stage, it's been very much a pretty traumatic time. It's been traumatic for those of you in small business, those of you who've lost your jobs. It's been very difficult for those of you who've retired, who've seen your dividends held back. We're very, very aware of that. I want to acknowledge just how hard my own team have been working really right through the weekends to make sure that everybody's had the support that they need. Let's hope now we get a level of stability. A time where kind of after a storm we just have an opportunity just to count to 10, relax, get more back into the way that we live our lives here. I think that's all I need to say today. We'll continue with our monthly updates. We have improved our website, so do have a look at that. And as always, we appreciate your referrals, your support, your kindness. Tony Virtue, when experience pays.